So we are now on our next topic now, which is the Mendelian genetics. So when we say Mendelian genetics, it is a branch of biology that deals with, of course, the inheritance of traits from parents to offspring. Of course, this is based on the principles first discovered by Gregor Mendel in the mid-19th century. So, yeah, Mendel, he is an Australian monk, no? He is a monk. So, as what you can see sa kanyang suot, no? So, he conducted experiments on pea plants, no? And uncovered the basic laws of heredity, which laid, of course, the foundation of modern genetics. And because of this, he is considered the father of genetics. So, of course, Mendel proposed that traits are inherited through discrete units known as genes. So, nandyan, Gregor Mendel, through his work on pea plants, discovered the fundamental laws of inheritance. So, he deduced that genes come from pairs and are inherited as distinct units. So, differentiate, it's because one parent, one gene or one trait comes from the mother and one trait comes from the father. So Mendel tracked the segregation wherein from generation to generation, what has changed, what are the traits that has been passed on to the offspring generation to generation. So, and of course, he determined that there are dominant and recessive traits. So again, he chose the garden pea plant, as what you can see on the right side of the picture. So the what do you call this? The scientific name for this pea plant is Pisum sativum, and of course Mendel crossed it with other pea plants that had naman different contrasting characteristic. So for example, if the flower is yellow, so he crossed it with, for example, this is just an example, a yellow to purple na flower. So from his results, he developed the fundamental principles of inheritance. So here are the Mendel's principle of inheritance. So inherent characteristic and genetic information are carried by discrete units known as genes, which he called the factor. Factor, it's because these are the traits that will determine, that will differ us from our siblings. That's the reason why we have different, though hindi 100%, we have different features compared with our siblings. Genes consist of DNA which are found in chromosomes that segregates independently during the formation of gametes and unite randomly to form an offspring. So when talking about DNA and chromosomes, so this has been already discussed sa ating cell na process, specifically sa cell cycle na process during your general biology 1. Okay, so when he was conducting the experiment, Mendel simply wanted to create hybrid pea plants, like to come up with something new. And of course, he meticulously observed the outcome because of that goal. But discoveries soon laid the foundation of modern study of heredity. So of course, in this lesson, you will revisit, since you have already encountered this topic during your grade 8, So, the laws of hereditary are formulated by, of course, Gregor Mendel, and discovered how pedigree is applied in genetics. So, later on the last part of this slide, now we're going to be talking about pedigree. So, Gregor Mendel's scientific approach and experiments. So, of course, again, genetics, it is a science that involves the study of heredity, the passing of traits from parents to offspring. So again, he used pea plants, since versatile masyado ang characteristic ni pea plants. So the first reason bakit ginamit niya ito is pea plants have many traits with two distinct forms and no intermediate. So from the flower, from the color of the pod, from the height, so meron siyang distinct na characteristic. And nakalagay dyan, no intermediates, meaning pag tall, tall, pag short, short. So there's no average height, no? Just example lang yan. The second one, pea plants are small and abundant. So yes, very small yan sila, and they grow for like a month lang, no? And they are gonna produce seed later, no, after 1 month. So it's very convenient to use for an experiment. Pea plant matures quickly, yes, based on what I have said, no, diba? They produce seeds, no, very fast, and of course with that we can conclude as well na that specific seed, no, will mature quickly along with the plant itself. Next one, reproduce in large numbers. Of course, large numbers siya kasi yung isang pod pa nga lang is like 5 to 6 seeds na yung content niya. And of course, mating can be controlled by using either self-fertilization or cross-fertilization. When I say self-fertilization, we have the same trait na plant, no? Or I mean, the same body of plant, and this plant has, what do you call this? Female and male reproductive organs. So just like sa sexual reproduction. So yung pollen, no, or yung male reproductive organ is like i-fertilize niya yung yung a female reproductive organ din ng the same na plant. When I say cross-fertilization naman, of course, from cross-fertilization, so it uses different variety na of the plant. Okay? So, yun. So, ganun daw yung ginawa no, ni Mendel. So, Gregor Mendel performed this experiment in the garden of the abbey where he had been an abbot. No? So, he had been observing generations of pea plants as they self-fertilize to see if their noticeable characteristic would be consistent in every generation. So, of course, he did this experiment for 7 years. So, imagine yung sacrifice, yung effort. But, yun nga, as what I have said kanina, different naman yung goal niya. But, of course, it came up to this conclusion, and it is still used, no, until today. So he grew and tested 28,000 pea plants with that space, no, on the abbey, no, wherein siya yung monk doon. Okay? So there. So these are the 7 contrasting traits, no, or characteristics of the pea plant. So the first one there is the height, no. So again, no intermediate characteristic, no, yung ating pea plants. So take note, tall or short lang siya. Ang kanyang pod shape naman is inflated or constricted. So when I say inflated, yung the space, no, inside the pod, no, has still, the pod, no, has still space inside. Constricted naman, whatever is the shape of the seed, yun yung shape ng pod. Pod color naman, so you have green or yellow, as well as the seed color, no? So, of course, pag green yung kanyang pod, green din yung seed. Pag yellow naman yung pod, yellow din yung seed. Seed shape naman, so we have round or wrinkled. Flower color naman, lang talaga siya sa purple or white. Flower position naman is eggshell or terminal. Okay? So, yeah. So, again, yung ating mga pea plants, no, they can mature pala, no, 2 to 3 months or 60 to 90 days after planting. But, during germination is 7 to 10 days, no, mag-germinate na sila, no, during, what I mean to say is, ever itanim natin sila, 7 to 10 days, mag-germinate na yan sila. And then, 4 to 6 weeks, mag-start na labas yung kanilang flower. And then, yung pod naman, yung nilalagyan ng seed, mag-form and mag-mature. Mag-begin yan 1 to 2 weeks after the flowering. Okay? And then, mag-harvest na nung pod, 2 to 3 months pa pala. So, maybe that's the reason why umabot talaga ng, ng 7 years yung observation. And, yeah, 3 months is very, ano lang naman siya, madali lang siya when talking about life cycle of a plant. No? Usually, yun yung pinaka least, kumbaga, no, na life cycle ng plant. Okay, so if you want to look at the different distinct characteristics that the pea plants have through picture, so eto siya. Okay, so yan. So we have there the seed shape, round or wrinkled, seed color, yellow or green, flower color naman, purple and white lang talaga yun siya. Flower position naman is meron tayong eggshell, pwede siya sa side. And meron naman tayong terminal, yung sa center lang talaga nagagrow yung flower. Yung pod color naman, green and yellow, pod shape, inflated or constricted. And plant height naman, it's either tall or short. Okay? So Mendel studied contrasting traits. So for example, what would happen if your plant that always produced yellow seed was crossed with a pure plant that always produced a green seed? So here, we have our representation. We'll use the letters Y. Okay? So the parent one representing the species, that produce yellow seeds, and parent 2 naman, of course, produces green seed. So, when you cross all of them, all together in a Punnett square, so we'll get all yellow pa rin, na seed. So, Mendel called the offspring of 2 purebred parents with different traits hybrid, since these offspring is a carrier of the parents, tawag nito, both characteristic. It's just that one trait is dominant over the other. Okay? So Mendel began his experiment through monohybrid crossing, so which involves one pair of contrasting traits. So meaning there's a presence of 2 parents with contrasting traits. So Mendel's procedure for experiment is explained as on the slide, So the first one is self-fertilization. So when you say self-fertilization, of course, we can compare it with asexual reproduction. So it always produces offspring with the same trait as the parent plant. So the same pollen, is used to fertilize the ovary, or the ovule of the specific plant as well. So, same plant lang talaga, isang body lang siya. So, of course, it will produce all the time, purebred talaga. Pure breeding yung ginagawa, sa self-fertilization. Next is the cross-fertilization. By the way, yung self-fertilization pala, of course, it ensures the parental generations are through breeding. The next one is cross-fertilization. So, of course, when I say cross-fertilization, it involves 2 parents with distinct traits. So, of course, it will produce offspring that may be different or the same as the parent plant, depending on the characteristic that dominates over the recessive na trait. So, of course, since ganun yung process, cross-fertilization nangyayari, so we can have a hybrid na product or na offspring. So, fertilization of contrasting parent generation of plants with offspring known as the, of course, the F1 generation or the first filial generation, followed by the second filial generation, third, fourth, so on and so forth. So, ganun yung ginawa ni Mendel, gitrace niya from parent to first generation, second, so on and so forth. Okay? So, the third one, he allowed F1 generation to self-fertilize, producing the F2 generation. So, di ba, meron siyang parent, na distinct yung characteristic. So, depende sa kanya, inuna niyo muna yung self-fertilization and then cross-fertilization. And then, yung na-produce ng offspring, self-fertilize niya hanggang nakaproduce siya ng second generation. So, parang ganito siya. So, yan. So, yung parent, breeding, no, na yellow, yung i-cross siya sa pure breeding na green. So, nakaproduce ng lahat, no, na yellow na generation, yung F1 generation. And then, pagdating sa F2 generation, so merong changes. So, the F1 generation always showed one of the two contrasting trait known as dominant trait, which is, on this example, is the yellow line. Mendel let the seed self-fertilize to produce the F2 generation. So, ngayon, yung F2 generation always showed traits in a 3:1 ratio with one, tawag nito, with one offspring, no, or the 1% having the recessive or exhibiting the recessive trait. Okay? So, yeah. So, ito yung steps na ginawa pala ni Mendel before proceeding with either self-fertilization or cross-fertilization. So, ito siya, cross-fertilization, ito specifically. So, nandiyan, number 1, remove stamens from purple flower. So, remove niya, no, yung stamens sa purple na flower para maging pure siya na female o kumbaga na flower. Kasi, pag hindi i-remove ni Mendel yan, there's a possibility na it will fertilize din its own, kumbaga. So, kailangan i-remove yung stamen or yung male reproductive organ ni purple flower. So, ngayon, ang kinuha na stamen is from the white flower. So, he transferred pollen from stamens of white flower to carpel of the purple na flower. So now, after 3 months, it produces a pod. So this pod, no, is of course, may laman ito na seed. And then later, yung pod na yun na nag-mature yung pod, so ginamove niya yung seed, tinanim niya yung seed. So that is our first generation na offspring. So ngayon, as what you notice, lahat, no, is purple yung flower. It's because the purple na flower is our dominant na trait over the white trait. Okay? So of course, expected, no, based sa experiment ni Mendel, na this purple flower, if ever self-fertilize lang natin, would somehow produce offspring that has white flower. Okay? So, based sa previous na slide, 3:1 yung ratio. So, 3 purple flower and 1 white flower. So, mag-show ang ating recessive na trait. So, the same with this one, no? So, yan. So, like, pinakita lang kung ano nangyari. So, parental generation, so Mendel let each variety to self-fertilize for several generation muna to ensure that purple is purple and white is white. Yun. Para makakreate siya ng pure bred, no, na parent generation. So, yeah. So, after yan, yung first generation, produce ng lahat 100% na purple na flower. So, ang ginawa niya naman, self-fertilize niya ito to produce the second generation, and as what you can see there, 75% is purple but the 25% is white. So, nag-show na yung recessive na trait on the second generation. So, the establishment of the laws of inheritance. So, these are the laws of inheritance, no? So, the first law is the law of independent assortment. So, variation in the inherited trait of offspring are attributed to a gene variant known as alleles. So, yung ginagamit natin ng mga letters, for example, for tall, we use letter T. For yellow, we use letter Y, no? So, those are called alleles in genetic term. So, chromosomes carry genes at every locus where pairs of alleles that hold genes for particular traits are found. So, makikita yan sa chromosome yung different genetic information. The similarity and difference between each allele determine which trait will be dominant or recessive. So, in a population, if you look in a population, whatever is the dominant trait, that is the dominant trait, kumbaga. So, if ever there's a few contrasting colors, so those are the recessive trait. Okay, so law of independent assortment. The second law is the law of segregation. So every offspring contains two copies of a particular gene, one coming from each parent. So us, no, ano tayo? 50% from mother, 50% from our father. So during the formation of gametes, the pairs of alleles for specific traits separate from one another and result in gametes that carry only a single inheritable trait. And this single inheritable trait, no, is somehow paired up, no, will be paired up, no, with the gene, a specific gene that is coming from the other parent. When gametes join together during fertilization, each of them contributes, no, to the offspring. So again, 50-50 talaga yan. Next is homozygous and heterozygous. So when both alleles in a single pair are similar, they are known as homozygous pair. So again, pag similar daw, they are known as an homozygous pair. So for example, we have a big letter A. Okay, so this is big letter A. So we can call it homozygous if it is paired with big letter A. Next, we can call it heterozygous naman is if this big letter A is somehow partner with the small letter A. So just like this one. Yeah. So homozygous dominant pairs are represented by the same two letters in the uppercase form. So, yon. So, since we have our dominant trait and we use letter A, na big letter, and it is said there that it is homozygous, so meaning we have two double big letters and we call them the homozygous dominant pairs. Pag homozygous recessive naman, so since recessive, we always associate it with small letters, so we will have to use two small letter A's. Heterozygous pairs naman, of course, big letter and small letter A's. Now, let's talk about genotype and phenotype. So, I know you already have an idea na what is genotype and phenotype, but this will serve as the review. Okay? So, genotype refers to the complete combination of alleles for a particular gene. So, kagaya niyan sa picture as what you can see here. So, this is our, saan na yung aking Ayan. So, medyo loading, no, yung ating cursor. So, yan. As what you can see there, ito siya, yan. So, those are our genotypes, no. Depending on the letters or alleles, no, used, so, yun yung magiging genotype natin. So, the term encompasses the inherited genes, traits, and DNA coding passed from one parental generation to the offspring. When I say phenotype naman, so these are the physical characteristics that is visible. Okay? So, observable yung term na nandyan. No? So, kagaya niyan, so we have purple and white. No? But, yon, take note, hindi ibig sabihin na yung ratio na genotype will be the same with phenotype. So, kagaya niyan, so we have 1:2:1 na genotype. But, in phenotype, no, is 3:1. Since heterozygous na pair is still considered or will somehow show a physical trait that is the same with the dominant. Okay? So, it will always show or it will always, it's just a carrier of the recessive gene, but it will always show the dominant trait. Okay? Establishment of the laws of inheritance. So this is the third law or the third principle, which is law of dominance. So explains that in a cross between two parents that are pure for a particular trait, one allele will be dominant over the other. So it is, kumbaga, walang the same, maliban na lang sa other animals or other plants, no, that produces more than one offspring, no? Multiple yung offspring. So we're gonna be talking about that sa non-Mendelian genetics. So the dominant allele carries the dominant trait which appears in every generation of heterozygous pairing. Okay, so take note, every time, no, na heterozygous yan, yung dominant trait pa rin yung magsushow when we talk about phenotypic ratio. So the part 2, no, will be posted as well. It talks about Punnett square.